Mo-nique went through 2 failed marriages before she decided it was time to become truthful with herself. She wasn't equipped to be in a traditional relationship, and when she finally learned to be open and honest about her needs, her love life did a complete 180. The man who had been her friend since she was a teenager turned out to be the man of her dreams.
Hi, I'm Monique.
And I'm Sidney.
And this is Monique and Sidney's open relationship.
Here's the truth about her unconventional marriage. As a sophomore at a Baltimore, Maryland high school, Monique met a fellow student named Sidney Hicks. According to the New York Times, they remained friends all throughout high school, but Monique's personal life would eventually take her in a different direction. She met and married a man named Shalon Watkins, and in 1990 she gave birth to their son, Shalon Watkins Jr. The family of 3 moved to Atlanta so Monique could pursue her career as a comedian, but the Baltimore Sun stated that after 2 years in Atlanta, her marriage began to disintegrate. Monique packed up her belongings and she and her son moved back to Baltimore. Things with her first husband eventually came to an end. It would have been the perfect opportunity for her to pursue things with her good friend Sidney Hicks, but the timing wasn't quite right. She met a man named Mark Jackson, and after a few years of dating, they got married in 1997. Monique's career started to heat up at this point, and in 1999, she landed the role of Nikki Parker on the UPN series The Parkers. She was also named the first female host of Showtime at the Apollo. After being together for close to a decade and married for 4 years, Monique told Jet magazine she wanted out of her marriage. She said, "I was slowly dying inside and I got tired of the lie." The timing was still off for her to kickstart a relationship with her buddy Sidney Hicks, and she fell deeply in love with an accountant named Marvin Dawson. A year after her divorce from Mark was finalized, Monique, who was 35 at the time, announced she and 23-year-old Marvin were engaged. In a 2002 interview with Jet magazine, Monique said she was attracted to Marvin because he was okay with being who he was. She also said it didn't hurt that he was 6 feet 4 inches tall, 285 pounds, and brown skin with a beautiful smile. She and Marvin set their wedding date as May 17, 2003, and Monique was looking forward to her big day. It was the first time she was able to afford an extravagant wedding, and she was ready to go all out. Even though she had 2 unsuccessful marriages under her belt, she wasn't hesitant about tying the knot for a 3rd time. She told Jet magazine, despite people urging her to get a prenup, she didn't want to go that route. She said, "My whole thing is if I have to go through all that, then that's not the person I'm supposed to be with." Perhaps Monique should have taken her time in getting to know Marvin, because right before their scheduled 2003 wedding date, she reportedly found out about his shady past. Marvin allegedly had a lengthy rap sheet which included time behind bars on theft and weapons charges. Monique had no other choice but to call off the wedding. Throughout all of her failed relationships, Sidney was always someone she could count on to provide her with support. She told the Chicago Tribune they moved in together as roommates and they were like brother and sister. They would have deep and meaningful conversations that would always end up happening in their bathroom. Sidney told the New York Times their friendship grew and evolved throughout the years. Monique went from being his sister to being his, quote, little girl at certain points. He said, "When you go through all these dynamics with someone, you understand them." As for Monique, she refers to Sidney as daddy, and she explained why in this live video.
"Let me tell you why I call him daddy. Because he raising me, goddammit."
Even though some people may think their relationship is strange, Monique and Sidney found exactly what they were looking for in each other. Sidney, who has a child from a previous relationship, told the New York Times one of the most romantic things about being a couple is being honest with one another. In 2005, Monique got pregnant with twins. Under her doctor's orders, she scaled back on her gigs and canceled some events, including an appearance at the 2005 Essence Musical Festival in New Orleans. In October 2005, 2 months before her due date, she gave birth to twin boys.
Hi, I'm Monique.
And I'm Sidney.
I'm David.
And I'm Jonathan.
They weighed a little over 4 pounds each, but thankfully, Monique's rep said she and the babies were doing fine. Monique was officially ready to walk down the aisle again, and this time there was no turning back. In an interview with TV One, she said her first 2 marriages failed because she was too busy chasing fame and didn't understand what it meant to be a wife. Even her relationship with her eldest son, Shalon, had been strained because of her former lifestyle. Mo-nique said she was, quote, out chasing and was too busy to be a solid figure in his life when he was younger, but she hoped he would forgive her and give her another chance. In 2006, she and Sidney became husband and wife. Before they could even celebrate their 1-year wedding anniversary, she did an article with Essence magazine alongside Jill Scott. During the interview, Jill mentioned Mo-nique and Sidney were in an open relationship. When Mo-nique told Sidney that the cat was out of the bag, his response was, "That's gonna backfire on you." Throughout the years, Mo-nique has been forced to clarify the parameters of her marriage on several occasions. It got to the point where she and her husband decided to launch a podcast entitled Mo-nique and Sidney's Open Relationship to discuss the ins and outs of their marriage. During one episode of their podcast, Mo-nique revealed she was the one who asked Sidney for an open relationship. She said at the time they got married, she was seeing another man and she wanted to continue seeing him. She said it wasn't that she wanted to continue being intimate with her side piece, she just didn't want to keep any secrets from Sidney. At the time, Mo-nique said she was under the impression that since she made all the money for their household, she could make all the rules and do whatever she wanted to do. She and Sidney took a trip to the Bahamas, and that's when he dropped a bombshell on her. Sidney reportedly said, "Well, mama, you know, if you can see other men, I can see other women." Mo-nique was hesitant at first. She told Sidney, "I am the famous one, not you, and I have the money. You can't do that." But eventually, she put her ego aside and agreed to let Sidney do his thing. She told the New York Times that if either of them is intimate with someone else, it's not a deal breaker. And because of that, cheating is something that simply doesn't exist in their marriage. She never has to worry about Sidney deceiving her, and vice versa. But in 2007, Sidney told People magazine all his love is reserved for Mo-nique, and he hadn't been intimate with anyone else. When asked if Mo-nique could say the same, Sidney answered, "Whether she has or not, that's not relevant." During an episode on her podcast, Mo-nique revealed their marriage had changed for the better. Now that they have children to raise and a family to keep intact, she said neither of them had time to see other people on the side. While they settled down into their family life, Mo-nique's past came back to haunt her. Her ex-fiancé Marvin Dawson gave an exclusive interview to the National Enquirer and accused Mo-nique of using and selling substances. He also stated the entertainer had allegedly cheated on her taxes and said Mo-nique allegedly threatened to hire someone to go after him if he exposed her secrets. Mo-nique responded by saying, "Marvin Dawson has no credibility. He's a nut." At the time, Marvin said he was planning to write a book about his life with the star. Some people thought Marvin was just bitter because Mo-nique had moved on and was happier than ever. There are rumors that Sidney being in control of Mo-nique's career has caused her to burn bridges in the industry. After winning an Oscar in 2010 for her role in the film Precious, she and her husband were accused of making so many demands, director Lee Daniels said it soured Mo-nique's relationship with the Hollywood community. As her gigs dried up, the tax man came knocking. And suddenly, her ex-fiancé Marvin's claims about Mo-nique allegedly cheating on her taxes started to make a little more sense. Mo-nique and Sidney were hit with tax liens in 2013, 2014, 2016, and 2017. Including interest penalties and collections costs, her total past due bill totaled over $620,000, according to a September 2019 report by the Blast website. Money issues aside, Mo-nique and Sidney believe they have the foundation for a union that will last. They no longer have deep conversations in the bathroom. Now, they discuss all aspects of their lives and relationships in a dark closet. The Oscar award-winning actress said their marriage is defined by openness and not fear. She added, "What we have is real and honest. It's changed my life and saved my life." Let us know your thoughts on Mo-nique and Sidney's love story, and thanks for watching Real Reality Gossip.